Do we have the American League MVP from 2000?
Hey, fellas, how you guys doing?
Hey, Jason Giambi, how are you? It is good to see you once again. Chris Townsend with the A's.
Good to see you, Chris. How you been?
I've been well. I was actually telling the story about how you took me deep in college back when Long Beach State, this is how old we are, back when you guys used to play on campus.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember playing. It was the old days.
The good old days. Well, there was just something about you and the relationship and what I love so much about you going into the Hall of Fame, the A's Hall of Fame. It's truly your love. You love playing for this organization. You love the fan base. It's going to be fitting, and I know Sunday's going to mean a lot to you.
It's incredible. I'm definitely honored. I mean, the A's, Mr. Fisher. I mean, it's where you start. You always have those memories of where you start. And I mean, I got to play with all my heroes when I first got there, and from Mark to Eckersley to everybody else to the Hudson Molders-Zito, like to make that transition and to be a part of some of those incredible teams. I mean, the fans that are there are die hard to die hard. I mean, they really are. And it was amazing to play there.
I think about 2000. I also think about 2001. I know you won the MVP in 2000, covered that year, covered 01. I think you're better in 01. Obviously, the new thing about Ichiro coming over, but just talk about those 2 years, because when you mix everything, when you mix batting average with power, driving the ball to left center, which was your signature, the doubles, the walks, you did everything, and you also didn't get enough credit for your defense. But talk about those 2 years specifically, how much they meant to you in your career and how good they were.
Well, they were incredible because my brother was there as well. And it was like Little League. It was like going to the park every day. Just I had never got a chance to play with him and to have that opportunity. I'll never forget that. And I think that's some of the reason, and that's the same year that I started dating my wife. So it was like my world had become complete. And it was, having a great time in the organization. It was incredible. And all these surrounding people that I had, I think that's what brought it through the roof, is just that it all came together. It all came together those 2 years.
And there's a special thing there too, where you think about, you saw it growing, right? You see these young pitchers, and you had to think like, man, we got these young pitchers. Like you knew that you guys were going to be players in Major League Baseball, that you were going to factor in who the best teams are.
Oh, we would have been the Braves. There's no doubt. We would have been waiting forever because you still had Harden in the minors and all these other guys in the minor leagues that hadn't even got a chance to come to the big leagues yet. They were stacked. I mean, you just would have never had to get a free agent. I mean, that's how stacked they were in the minor leagues. You just bring up, insert them into the lineup, and that they could have learned. They would have had to learn it. You could learn underneath us. It would have been incredible. I mean, it really would have.
Later on, we never really realized. You just thought Mark McGwire was this great power hitter, right? Mark McGwire sets the record, and Mark McGwire had the rookie record. It's Mark McGwire, for God's sake. We didn't realize what a great hitting coach, the mental side, until he came back to baseball with St. Louis and LA and San Diego. We started to realize, wow, this guy's like a hitting savant. You got to see the early part of that when he was still a player. What was it like learning from Mark McGwire? Because obviously both of you guys are from Southern California. You knew he was already a star, but what did you learn from him?
Well, I followed around like a puppy dog for about 4 years, and he took me under his wing. And from then, I got to see some of the greatest hitters of all time. I was still playing. Donnie was still playing in Winfield and Puckett and all these guys. And of course, Mark was a star of the game. So I'm just standing there listening to all these things. We would talk about hitting, go to lunch, talk about hitting, what to look for, what counts. And so you were constantly talking about the one part of our game that was the best all the time. So it's like mental notes, all that, and I always think that when you talk about it, he's talking about something, you also learn something as well. And I think that's why he started to skyrocket as well, because it's just when you kind of put those pieces together of the puzzle, sometimes there's like aha moment. We're like, oh, that works. That'll work for me. Or at other times you're like, I don't really see that in my game. But that's where you start picking up pieces of the puzzle along the way, and which sped up my learning curve like tenfold, because I didn't have to go through all the ups and downs as a young player when I had one of the best hitters in the game. And like you said, he didn't get enough credit for what kind of hitter he was. But then you're talking to the rest of the best hitters in the game, and there you are, like standing there just like, okay, having the time of your life. Like, you're that kid still getting the autograph and listen to him talk about hitting.
Now, you start thinking about when you started to become a star. When did you really start to notice it? Because all of a sudden, there was a lot of things about to be thrown your way early in your career. When did you start to sit back and go, wow, it's happening?
I think when Mark left and I went to first base, and then Matt Stairs and I were both standing there going, God, if we do the same things you with Hayes rookies with, we'll have nobody on the veteran bus. It'll be just you and I, so we had to like welcome those young kids. Like, I had to tell Heck in the seventh inning, like, it's the seventh, that's when you get dressed. And I had to carry the beer and sit on the media bus and all this stuff, and had to sit in the toilet, when I got finally invited. But we're like, it's just going to be you and I on this bus. So we had to have a different approach of like welcoming these young kids and making them feel like a part of it. So that's how it became like a frat house, because you had all these young kids there having the time of your life. And then before you know it, you're like, you're young too. So, I mean, then it just all worked. Then the piece of the puzzle worked. That chemistry came together really fast.
Well, I think about the environment you guys set in that clubhouse. Even long after you were gone, it never left.
No.
I think, yeah, it's like this fun, like, baseball. God, these clubhouses were just so. A's clubhouse, it was fun. One thing, guys have remote control cars. There's stuff going on. Always stuff going on. That had to be something you had to love, that you were the big part of that, and that it didn't leave, even probably when you came back in 2009.
No, thank you. But it's the guys. That's who makes it happen. It's just not one person. It's everybody buying into that kind of philosophy. Like, hey, we're gonna have fun, and there's enough time. Like, when we hit the field, there's enough time to take care of business. But until then, we're gonna have fun, and and that's what separated us differently from everybody else.
How tough was it to leave Oakland?
It was really tough. I had a deal on the table, and they had pulled it off, and then I played that whole year without a contract, so that which opened the door to other teams. And at the end of the day, I tried, and it didn't work out. And I don't really blame anybody about more money than they bought the club for, so I don't, and then they also had young players, and they were losing some other players. So that's just the hard thing about being in that small market. Until you got more revenue sharing and more things to pass on, that's the tough thing about this game. And now I think with new TV contracts and, internet and everything else, there's more money to be spread out throughout the game. I mean, you got teams like Tampa now who are doing amazing, that are, you really look at it, they're still like a small budget, but they spend money because they have money now. So, and they're winning. But the game has definitely gotten adding that extra wild card. It's made it more exciting, because now you have teams that are, there's a couple of years where we could have made a playoff if we had a second wild card. But that's what's made the game more exciting now, because there's more teams in the hunt at the end. So you have more fan support. You have more people coming out going, hey, we got a chance. We're not that far back. And I think that's really picked up the game.
Yeah, if you think about 99, if we are where we are today, you guys would have made the playoffs in 99.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So then that brings that whole, then 2000 is a big year. Then 2000, it's like, then the fans get that excitement. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, oh, all these guys are going to be back. All these guys are going to be back. And that's how you build, like what Atlanta did. Cleveland did back in the early 90s and things like that with Tomei and Manny and then Boston. And that's how they just keep the ball rolling, and they just go get one player here, one player there, that homegrown guy. And so, even the AAA out here is exciting to watch, to go watch those guys play. You start to have this fan base that now you have A's fans everywhere.
What was the entire New York experience like? Because you went to New York after, let's face it, they had won those 3 straight World Series. They'd lost the World Series trying to make it 4 in a row against the D-backs, but they were still star-studded. They still wanted to win every single year. You go there as the big free agent. You're now a star, kind of like Reggie back in the day. I'm bringing my star to New York. What was the experience like?
It's like a traveling rock band. I mean, it really is. It's like you go to the hotels and they're packed, and you have Joe Torre and Derek Jeter and Mariano and Jorge Posada, and you have all these superstars among themselves, and you're getting a chance to play with some of the most incredible players of the game, and the fans that are like I would always say, I went over 4. I didn't go home and sleep, but if the Yankees didn't win, they didn't go home and sleep. You know, it's like that's how they do. They live and die. I mean, they don't go to Met Stadium. They only go to Yankee Stadium, and they're diehards, man. And it's an honor to play in front of them, and it tests you as a player. It tests you as a person, because you have to stand up and take responsibility for your stuff. You know, like if you have a bad game, you have to talk to the media. You know, you can't just walk out. You know, and you got to answer the question. So it was a incredible experience. You know, that. I mean, it's the mecca, of baseball. Babe Ruth, you know, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. I mean, all the greats ever have played there as well.
You know, one of the great parts about your career was the last parts of your career. And I remember interviewing you as a Colorado Rocky. And when all of a sudden Jason Giambi is not the star, Jason Giambi is not the everyday going to be the MVP guy, you are now the mentor. You are now the guy that you've seen it. You've had your ups, you've had your downs, you've had to deal with some emotional stuff, the press conference. You provide so much maturity for those teams and what you meant to the then Cleveland Indians and what you meant to the Rockies, where all these people, and we still talk about it today, going, the minute he wants back in this game, there's still people that think you'd be a great manager. Talk about the end of your career where now you truly are what Mark McGwire was to you.
Yeah, well, I literally played them the last 5 years of my 20-year career because of that, because I was willing to help the young kids. And I always thought it's a damn shame if I don't pass this on to like someone else. You know, it was passed on from Mark to me. And that's, I think, how you honor young kids after that. You know, I had Michael Brantley and Kipnis and Todd Helton and Tulowitzki. And, you know, you had all these incredible players, and I still got a chance to play with. That was so fun to watch, but they just needed to learn that learning curve of, to do things, to have those back-to-back seasons instead of like one great year, one bad year, one great year, one bad year. So you can like help them through their tough times. And I really, really enjoy it. It was so much fun to go to the ballpark and come off the bench and win games and hit home runs, you know, as a pinch hitter. But I also had a chance to play for some of the greatest managers in the game. I mean, if you think about it, from Tony to Jim Tracy to Tito, I mean, Joe Torre, I mean, it goes on, the list goes on and on. Art Howe, you know, it was phenomenal. I mean, these guys to watch day in and day out and like listen to them talk and listen to how they maneuver guys or talk to guys. It was incredible. Like I had every portion of the game that I took the chance to look at, though. Like I really did. I loved the game so much. I took in every part of it. I just didn't go, all right, I'm not here to dig myself and like whatever. I cared about my teammates. I cared about what was happening with the team, and it paid off. You know, like my son plays baseball, and they have a little travel ball team, and you know, they went from coach pitch to real pitch, and then they started winning all the time. And it's like it brings back the joy of what it's all about. You know, I love it. I still get calls from guys today that, I'm struggling, dude, at 2 a.m. You know, like you can call me anytime, and we talk through it. And you know, I talk through it off the ledge, but it's cool. Like I still have relationships in the game, which is incredible. You know, to think about it, I'm like 52, and these guys are still calling to ask for help. You know, and I love every minute of it.
Well, last time I talked to you on the field, it was just a few years ago. I asked you the question. You talked about your kids.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you again. Anytime you want to come back, there's people who think you'll make a great manager. They think you'll roll right in.
I get the calls every year. You know, you ready yet? You ready yet? And I kind of finally grew up. I have 4 children now instead of 3. So we have a 1-year-old. It took me a long time to grow up. But, you know, it's starting to blossom out. You know, I'm helping my son do his thing, still helping players. You know, I've gone to some spring trainings and, you know, just to kind of get that, because when I want to do that, that's why I go down the rabbit hole. That's my wife always says, I know you, once you go, you'll go down the rabbit hole and I won't see you. So make sure when you're ready, we're ready to go with you because we're not going to see you, you know, because that's who I am, because I care deeply about the game. I really do. I love the game. And it has taught me so much as a man, as a young kid, as a human being. You know, it's who I am today because of that game, you know, and I think that's how you honor it.
You think about when you came to the athletics way back when out of Long Beach State.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, you're going to be wearing that green jacket and you'll be forever remembered as an Oakland A Hall of Famer. How emotional is this speech going to be for you?
It's going to be tough. You know, the person that taught me the game, my dad's no longer around. My brother, who I've had some of the best years of my career when I was with, won't be there. You know, so it will be emotional. Not only that, my kids never saw me play. You know, like they really didn't. My daughter was the oldest when I was in Cleveland, and she was born in 2011. I retired in 2014, and she remembers a little bit, but none of the other kids really remember me playing. I'm like the YouTube dad, you know, like they watch me play on YouTube or the video games, you know, the video games that I was on cover. So it's got to be special. Like, you know, my son loves baseball, like all on his own, and not even dad got involved with that. I said, if you want to play, buddy, it's up to you, you know, and he just gravitated towards it, you know, and he like wanted to do it. I said, all right, if you want to do it, I'll teach you everything I know. And like, he's like a little stud. He's like now 11U and he's a grinder, man, too. I remember the first game he ever played, first game of Coach Fit. We played like the number 4 team in like Nevada. There, one travel ball team. This guy's throwing gas and drills him right in the back. Like first pitch of the first ever bat, drills him right in the back. He's a skinny kid too, so it's like, boom, like I gotta like pop it out of his chest and I'm like, all right, buddy, you're either gonna come up your next bat and get a hit, or you're not, and we're gonna find you another sport. Then you'll be a baseball player if you get a hit. So he comes up next bat, lines one to left field, and I go, you're a baseball player. So he's never been scared after that again. He got that one right out of the way first at bat, and he's been well on his way.
Well, I know for a lot of fans, they're going to be so pumped to see you. And, you know, you may be great on YouTube, but a lot of us remember you back in the Big West, how good you were at Long Beach State. And then, of course, what you did throughout the A's organization, the big leagues, whether it's the A's, the Yankees, the Rockies, the Indians, you name it. You had an unbelievable career. You're a great player. And you're going to be an Oakland A's Hall of Famer on Sunday. So we can't wait to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Chris, it's such an honor to see you again, buddy. And thank you so much for everything. And I'm so honored to be on this show and be, you know, really the first one to talk to, you know, about this. And I'm honored. I really am.
It's going to be great. We'll see you Sunday. You be well.
All right, bud. You too.
The great Jason Giambi, now Oakland A's Hall of Famer. How cool was that, A's fans?